Hey YouTube, how goes it? Today is a super exciting episode because we're actually pitting our recently reviewed Surface Book 3 against Apple's new 13-inch 2020 MacBook Pro. And in this episode, we're going to find out which one is the better laptop once and for all. So, let's get started. Before we get into the nitty-gritty stuff, just a reminder, if you enjoy the content you see on this channel, please consider dropping a subscribe as well as liking this video. It helps keep me motivated to provide more future quality content for you guys. Now, when you buy a laptop for the first time, the first thing you'll notice is its body language or body design. That matters a lot. So, with that being said, let's have a look at the body language both of these laptops have used. Released in 2020, the new MacBook Pro actually shares a lot of resemblance with Apple's 2016 refresh. Not a whole lot has changed from the outer body since then. With that being said, it has a full metal solid aluminum body that covers the entire outer shell. In this particular model, Apple has introduced the Magic Keyboard, which replaces the older generation butterfly keyboard. Also, Apple continues using the white style trackpad, which is a joy to use. This particular model has two USB-C ports, however a higher end configuration provides up to 4 USB-C ports on either side. You also get your traditional headphone jack. Furthermore, as you move towards the upper body, you'll notice that the MacBook Pro has semi-thin bezels, but they're still pretty noticeable. Aside from that, I would say the MacBook Pro looks like a traditional laptop with a modern twist to it. Also released in 2020, the Surface Book 3 continues to actually share the same teardrop design it initially unveiled with the Surface Book 1 all the way back in 2015. It has a nice, sleek, modern, aluminized body that covers the entire outer shell. Everything except for the power button and the volume button are made of aluminum. With that being said, as you move towards the upper body, you'll notice that it has a tablet-like design with the screen. It has thick bezels that resemble that of a modern-day tablet. Furthermore, you get more diversity in terms of the I/O ports. You have two USB-A ports, a USB-C port, and an SD card reader along with the headphone jack, of course. The Surface Book 3 opted to use Microsoft's custom-built keyboard and high-precision trackpad. It also comes with two cameras. It has a front-facing webcam and it also has a rear camera. In terms of the overall feel of the Surface Book 3, it very much feels like a hybrid laptop. So when you're looking at it from one angle, it looks like a traditional looking laptop. But because of the way the hinges are placed, you can definitely tell that the front screen or the top screen is detachable from the rest of the body. Now the MacBook Pro and the Surface Book 3 share a lot of similarities. One of the key differences is the size of the trackpad. The MacBook Pro has a massive trackpad with full gesture support. Now the Surface Book 3 also offers full gesture support on their trackpad, however it is visibly smaller. This can be a nuisance when you're trying to scroll through long articles or perform large gestures. Another thing worth highlighting is the keyboard on the Surface Book 3. I have to say, after all the laptops I've used, the Surface Book 3's keyboard is the best, period. It feels responsive, tactile, and fluid. Now don't get me wrong, the keyboard on the MacBook Pro with the new Magic Keyboard has improved a lot compared to the butterfly keyboard that has deeper travels and a more tactile feel. But the Surface Book 3 just blows it out of the water on this one. On the topic of keyboards, however, one thing I didn't like about the Surface Book 3 is the fact that Microsoft did a very poor job of lighting the keyboard. If you look at the keyboard closely on the Surface Book 3, you can see that some areas are more well lit than others. Some letters look unevenly lit. This is not a huge problem in terms of performance or function. It's mostly just an aesthetic observation, but it's definitely something that should not happen on a premium laptop such as the Surface Book 3. Now let's talk performance. This current configuration that we have of the MacBook Pro offers a 8th generation Intel Core i5 quad-core processor that's base frequency at 1.4 GHz. It also offers 16 GB of DDR3 RAM, a 256 GB SSD storage drive, and it offers a previous generation Intel Iris 645 graphics. On the other side, the Surface Book 3 offers the newer 10th generation Core i5 ultra-low wattage chip that's base frequency at 1.2 GHz. Also, it offers slightly faster and newer LPDDR4X 8 GB of RAM. It offers 256 GB SSD storage, and lastly, it offers Intel's newest Iris Plus graphics. On paper, the Surface Book 3 is actually using newer and more modern components. However, When you run day-to-day applications and CPU-intensive applications like Adobe Rush, Photoshop, and Lightroom, we found that the Surface Book 3 struggles to actually perform rendering, photo editing, and it heats up a lot. The MacBook 3, on the other hand, actually managed to render faster than Surface Book 3. It also manages to keep a much more balanced temperature check. Now, to be entirely fair, Surface Book 3 does not have a dedicated cooling system whatsoever, and that's because Microsoft is using the ultra-low wattage Core i5 chips. However, it has a faster processor and faster RAM, but what we learned from this is that having more RAM is more important than having faster RAM. In the case of our MacBook Pro configuration, we have 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM, whereas we have DDR4X RAM on our Surface Book 3 in an 8 gigabit configuration. Keep in mind, we're using base configuration for both models over here, and neither of these machines are dedicated gaming machines or machines designed to be doing intensive rendering. With that being said, however, it's also worth noting that because most people will most likely buy the base configuration, we tested these models in particular to see which one suffices better in day-to-day performance. I think the clear winner here is the MacBook Pro. Where things do get really competitive between these two machines is the display. The MacBook Pro offers a 2560 by 1600 native resolution display that roughly translates to 227 pixels per inch. It has one of the best brightness levels you can have on a laptop that peaks at 500 nits, amazing color accuracy, decent contrast. Now the Surface Book 3 has a beast of a display as well. It has a 3000 by 2000 native resolution display that translates to roughly 267 pixels per inch. That's quite a lot of clear, crisp image quality right there. It also offers good color accuracy, decent contrast. Where it does come short is brightness level. It only peaks at 200 nits maximum. One major key difference between both these machines is their aspect ratio. Now the MacBook Pro uses a traditional 16 by 10 aspect ratio, and this is great for watching widescreen content like videos on YouTube or Netflix. However, where it falls short is when you're reading articles or ebooks. They seem slightly more stretched out. This is where the Surface Book 3 really picks up the pace. It has a 3 by 2 unconventional aspect ratio. This isn't the best when you're watching videos because you get more crop and more black space on your image. However, when you're reading an ebook or when you're writing a document, the paper aspect feels more realistic and it's an absolute joy to look at. You can't go wrong with either of these displays. I think they're fantastic displays. Both vendors have done a great job of making premium looking screens. However, if I had to pick one over the other, I would say the Surface Book 3 ever so slightly wins in this category simply because of how clear and crisp the screen looks. It's hard to believe this is actually coming from a laptop. On a side note, it's worth noting that the Surface Book 3 has a full touch-based display, whereas the MacBook Pro does not. So if you like having the capability to touch the screen on your computer, the Surface Book 3 is also a winner in that regards. I'm not an audio freak by any means, but I have to say the Surface Book 3 has one of the most lackluster speakers I've seen on a laptop recently. Even though it has stereo sound, they sound very weak. In fact, some cell phones actually provide a louder speaker than the Surface Book 3. You know what? Don't take my word for it. Look at this demo. Based on that demo, I think it's pretty safe to say the MacBook Pro is the winner when it comes to audio quality. I do think Microsoft should definitely consider upgrading the sound system on their laptops for future generations. Battery life. Without it, our phones and laptops would just be bricks. Now with that being said, the Surface Book 3 offers extraordinarily long battery life. Honestly, I was surprised by how long it can last. We put 4K video streaming, web browsing, and light background activity in a mix-up to provide a day-to-day use scenario. And with all that, the Surface Book 3 actually squeezed 9 hours of battery life. Based on the exact same scenarios for the Surface Book 3, the MacBook Pro squeezed in just under 6 hours of battery life on a single charge. Now, to be fair, the MacBook Pro has a higher wattage processor and it also has other higher wattage components within it. But I think it's a considerable difference to the point where I think it's worth taking your charger if you're going to be going out for a full day with your MacBook Pro. Whereas the Surface Book 3 could probably last an entire day without the need for any charging whatsoever. One area where Microsoft took the cake most definitely is webcams. I don't know why, for some reason, the MacBook Pro continues to use an outdated, obsolete, irrelevant 720p camera with 5 megapixel. And honestly, you may as well look like a Minecraft character with that thing. Whereas the Surface Book 3 actually uses a more modern 1080p 5 megapixel camera on the front side, which looks pretty decent. Also on the rear side, you get a slightly higher quality 8 megapixel camera, which is great if you're going to be using it in tablet mode and walking around or showing stuff. I think the clear winner here is the Surface Book 3 when it comes to webcam quality. Now before I move on to the final verdict and share my final thoughts, keep in mind, even though these machines are both premium laptops, they do have their differences. For example, Surface Book 3 is a detachable hybrid. That means that you can use it as a tablet or a full laptop. So if you want to use it for portability, the Surface Book 3 does great. The MacBook Pro is a traditional laptop in that sense. Also, they're running two very different operating systems, macOS and Windows, and they both have their strengths and shortcomings, and depending on what applications and programs you intend to run, you may want to do your homework to see which one has more compatibility. If you want to see an individual review of either of these products, you can actually check my previous videos. I'll leave the link in the description below. Now for my final verdict, I have to say both these machines offer quite a lot, and they are definitely premium laptops. But I gotta be blunt and honest here. When I look at value, I think the MacBook Pro is the clear winner. Now hear me out. The reason for this is because the MacBook Pro starts at $1,950 Canadian. It offers you twice as much RAM as the Surface Book 3, and it offers better performance. No matter which test we ran, the MacBook Pro continuously overthrows the Surface Book 3 in day-to-day usage and CPU-intensive usage. The Surface Book 3, on the other hand, starts at $2,150 Canadian. Now, it's not a bad product by any means. However, it only offers half as much RAM, albeit slightly faster RAM, but it does not perform like the MacBook Pro at all. It consistently lags behind in heavy CPU intensive tasks and day-to-day browsing as well. We also found that the Surface Book 3 has lackluster components like a poor speaker system. However, it also has certain components that far supersede the MacBook Pro, like the superior webcam and the rear cam as well. That's not to say that either of these products are terrible or the best of the best. I think there are shortcomings for both, but I have to say that in terms of what your money can buy, the MacBook Pro simply offers you more. I'm sure some of you may have a different opinion than mine, and I'd love to hear what you think about either of these products and which one you think is a better buy. With that being said, if you do enjoy my videos and content, please do consider subscribing to my channel and liking this video. It keeps me motivated to provide you more future quality content. Until next time, Soul Tech, logging out.